sunroom study on this Wednesday afternoon, November 24th, 1954, as president of the York Pioneer and Historical Society, along with Major J.C. Boylan, to interview one of our most distinguished life members, Dr. J.B. Tyrrell. We hope to record what he will say for our members living now and for others yet unborn. Dr. Tyrrell, you have in your time traveled over the face of Canada probably more than any man living today. But you began your life in Weston back in 1858. Would you tell us something of your early days in Weston?
Weston was a village started by Mr. Porter, a half-breed who got the grant of the land from the government, and my father went out, came there when he was building mills up and down the Humber River. My father built the mill at the mouth of the Humber, the old stone mill there. Then he went up and built another one a little farther up, and then he went up finally and built a mill at Kleinburg for Pope Campbell, who lived there first, lived there at the time. Mr. Goodrum Works were at Kleinburg at that time, and my father has told me that they went to him and asked him to join them and do their building for them. But he said that he didn't care to go into the liquor business, and he kept to his own business. Now, after I went to public school and high school in Weston, and then went to, in 1874, went to Upper County College. The Humber River, my father built a house for Stoughton Dennis. They was afterwards Surveyor General for Canada, and on the banks of the Humber River. It was a very nice house that was there till not very long ago, I believe, and occupied by Dr. Bull in my time. And I used to go down to the Humber River, shoot ducks, and snipe and water birds along the, and I used to walk down as far as the mouth of the Humber, where ducks were very plentiful in the fall. There was one flood in, wasn't in my time, it was before my time. It was near the mouth there. It swept away some bridges or something. I forget that about that. That was the only thing that flood that I was connected with. I was connected in this way that that flood had changed the boundaries between two properties, and the people brought action against each other for these properties, and I was asked to go down and make a geological examination of where the flood had been, and advise if I could why or when it, and had it been natural or artificial. The legal point, I believe, was that somebody may have dug it and changed the channel, or was it nature that changed the channel?
Thank you, Doctor. When you went to university, what course did you take?
I went to university from Upper County College and took an ordinary arts course without any particular. And but in my second year, I decided to take a science course, and the science then was included all the sciences, geology and biology and chemistry, and those were the three professors. And I did fairly well. The second year I came out the head of the science class, and the third year I did the same. The fourth year, as I say, I didn't do quite so well because I went on a shooting trip up north just shortly before examination, and as Charlie Miller told me, he said, you spent too much time on other things. You shouldn't have gone varied from the curriculum in the least. He said, I just followed the curriculum and I had no trouble in coming out first. As Charlie Miller, the man that made the will.
Will.
Yes, will.
Gave the money to the biggest family.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. After you left university, how did you come to become an explorer of the North Country? After you left university, how did you come to become an explorer of the North Country?
I was always fond of outdoor work. I used to go shooting and squirrels in the bush and ducks along the river. And when I went to college, I started collecting rocks and fossils along the Humber River and out at the Credit River. Then I kept, when I graduated from the university, I went into a law office with Rose, MacDonald, Merritt, and Coatsworth. And I was articled to Mr. MacDonald, I think, of the firm. And I got poor health for some reason or another, and I went to Richardson, who was supposed to be the best doctor in Toronto at that time, and he said, well, your family has got a lot of TB in it. Your father's brothers and nephews, a lot of them have died of TB, and I'm very much afraid that you got a little of it too. And so he said, you get out of that office and go and find some outdoor work of some kind. And I've got a little diseased lung yet, on the bottom of my left lung. I've only got about a lung and 3/4 left. And so I started to look for an outside job. Well, I couldn't farm. I didn't know anything about farming, and I applied to the director of the survey. They were moving up from Montreal to Ottawa, and they needed all the men that they could get that had good, strong hands. And I was engaged down there for a year to unpack boxes and repack in the new museum that they were erecting in Ottawa. So that's then I said to the director,
that I came here to get exploratory work, not outdoor work, not this inside work. Well, he said, I've got them exploratory work. And, well, I said, all right, I'll go home and get hunt for something else then. And so I came up back to Toronto. And he sent word, come back to Ottawa and I'll give you an outdoor job. So there, I started out to the Rocky Mountains, and I kept at it for 18 years or so.
Well, it's interesting to hear how you became Canada's greatest explorer. Can you mention a number of the districts that you explored in the north? What country did you cover? How much?
I surveyed 1 year with Dr. Dawson as his assistant in the southern portion of the Rocky Mountains. Then for the next 3 years, I explored Alberta, between the Saskatchewan, the Bow River and the Saskatchewan River. And then I went to, I was sent to Manitoba, northern Manitoba. And I spent 2 years in northern western Manitoba. And 1886, 87, and 88. And 89, I went to Winnipeg, I think. And I forget just exactly for the years that I put in, but I started north. They sent me north then, north of the Saskatchewan River, up towards Lake Athabasca. And then I went through spent 2 years on long trips through the Barrenlands. And came back to northern Manitoba and found the rich belt of rocks that are yielding the Hudson Bay mine and 2 or 3 other mines now. There was nothing known of those rocks before I went there. And then I went and I was sent up to the Klondike to have a look at that country. And then the director and I didn't get on very well. And so I left. They gave me a dinner in Ottawa when I was leaving. And I said, in making a little address to them, I said that the director did think that I was worth more than I was getting. I was married and I had a small family to support, and I didn't think that $1,800 a year was enough for a man that had been in my position, so that had been working for 17 years for the survey. And so I was going out to the world to find out whether I was worth more than that or not. I said, I'll know pretty well in 2 or 3 years, and I'll know it good and hard. If I'm not worth any more, I'll know it.
Well, Doctor, you certainly knew the North Country. Could you tell us something about discovering the oil sands and then getting back from Chesterfield Inlet?
When I was going, I received instructions to go north from Edmonton up into the North Country, but Dr. Sullivan, the director, told me that he'd got information that there'd be some oil, there'd be some tar found in the country just back north of Edmonton, and would I go and see it on the way through Edmonton? He said, I don't think it amounts to anything. He said, I think it's some of the tar sands that have been carried down by glaciers from farther north to the Edmonton country. And when I got to Edmonton, I found whereabout this had been. There was a general knowledge. And so I went out and saw this. I found that it was a seepage of oil. It wasn't loose tar sands at all. It was a definite seepage of oil. I wrote down to the director in Ottawa in May 26th, I think it was, telling him that it wasn't any tar sand occurrence, that it was a definite seepage of oil from below there somewhere. So he went up there shortly afterwards, let a contract for drilling wells in that vicinity, and they kept the wells going for several years, I think till 1900. So he himself left the survey in 1895. But he started drilling wells in 1894, and he and his successor, Dr. Dawson, kept drilling the wells for oil till 1900. And then Dr. Dawson wrote a little story of his experiences and the results. He hadn't found any oil, but he hadn't gone deep enough. And he didn't say that, but he had that reason. And he published my letter as apparently, why I don't know, but that was the first reason given for boring all those boreholes for oil. I went down from Edmonton, I went down over to Lake Athabasca, to the Athabasca River, and then down the Athabasca River to Lake Athabasca, and eastward through Lake Athabasca to its end, and up the Stone River, to the Stony Lake, and then northward to the height of land, up a stream which I called the Selwyn River, up to the height of land. And then I struck the headwaters of the Dubawnt River, and we went down the Dubawnt River with our 3 canoes, and it was a wild old river all the way down to Hudson Bay, about 800 miles. And but I had the best, 2 of the best canoemen in America to steer my canoes, and we got through. And by the time we shot, we lived by caribou we shot on the way. Then, but when we got to Hudson Bay, it was the winter had set in. It was snowing. There was several inches of snow on the ground, and we had to go 500 miles down the shore of Hudson Bay in our canoes. And we had a wild time of it, but we managed to make it. We were all pretty thin when we got to Churchill.
Was that where you ate the patent pail full of candy?
Huh?
Was that where you ate the patent pail full of candy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Would you tell us now, Doctor, about settling down in the city after all these adventures?
After I'd spent 6 years up in the Klondike, I came down to where I'd been gold mining. I came down to this district, and I found that the silver mines at Cobalt were just being opened up. And so I decided to settle in Toronto as my headquarters and to endeavor to get some employment, either advising or consulting or managing mines in this district. So I came down here, and I didn't make much connection at Cobalt with the silver mines. But then I went to the Porcupine gold mines were found, and I went and examined them closely, and I was an English company came up, sent their engineer out here, Mr. William Freshfield, and he came to me and he said, "Will you cooperate with us and give us any opportunities to invest that you can consider advisable, and we'll give you a fee." And I took it, and I remained with them for a number of years as their consultant, here as their Canadian consultant. And I examined a lot of properties and recommended a number of them to them, but they refused to take any. And so I finally disconnected my connection with, but that was after I'd been with them 8 or 10 years.
Then you got into the Kirkland Lake company later, I suppose.
Yeah.
And would you tell us something about the books you wrote, and when did you find time to write so many books?
Well, you can find time to do what you have to do. I had crossed the Barren Lands, and Edmund, Walker, E.B. Walker, said, we're starting a Champlain Society to publish manuscripts and old books. And he said to me, will you republish, edit the Hearne's Journal across the Barren Lands, which is exactly right across the country that you were on? And, well, I said, I don't know, I have much time for that. But, I said, I'll see what I can do. And, so that, I took up the book, and I wrote an introduction to it and told added a few photographs to it and told a little about what I had learned extra about that country, and published that Hearne's Journey, I think it was 1911. And that was about when I settled down here, you see, not very long afterwards. And then I became more or less actively interested. And when I was in the Rocky Mountains, I found a lot of the mountains had names to them, and they were reasonably well surveyed. And I wondered who surveyed these men. There was no statement as to what work had been done. There was no statement that any work had been done. And so I referred to the old manuscript that I'd bought from Charles Lindsay. And I found, and then I said, well, this is the same man that ran the boundary line. Yes, then I got in touch with Mr. Russell. He had been employed in here. He was a surveyor and had been employed in the Ontario government. And he said, oh, I knew David Thompson well. And we've got all his books. We've got all his original manuscripts, notebooks, up in Toronto. And, well, I said, all right, I'd like very much to see them. So I came up to Toronto and made little paper out of the summary of what he'd done. I published that, I forget when, what year, but sometime about 1911 or 12 or 13 or something. And then Walker said to me, won't you let us publish that manuscript you've got? And I said, well, I will if you allow it to be published under my name. I bought the thing, and it's my baby, and I want to keep it. Oh, well, that's all right. We'll do all the work. We'll make the index. We'll read the proof. We do everything, and we give $500 to each man that edits a volume, and we give you I'd already paid $500 for the book. Well, I said, all right. So that's how I happened to get to write David Thompson's. His journal as synopsized by Thompson himself from his notes, not Thompson's original notes. It's Thompson's story written with his notebooks alongside him.
Well, Doctor, for a man who was born on the Humber, it's very interesting to find over on the east side of York County in the Rouge Valley. What decided you to take that side of the county to purchase land?
An old friend of mine came to me and asked me in 1920 if I didn't want to buy a farm. I said, no, I don't want to buy a farm. What do I want a farm for? Well, he said, there's a beautiful farm down on the Rouge River for sale auction. It's been owned by a bank for 10 years. It was in the boom days of 1810 or thereabout. It was supposed to be subdivided. And then the bank had to take it over for the money that had advanced on it, and now it's going to be sold by auction. And won't you buy it? And I said, no, I won't buy it. Well, he said it'll go over cheap, I guess, and you better let me buy it for you, because if you don't want it, I can sell it. I can easily sell it for twice the money that I give for it. And I said, how much is it? It's about 350 acres. And so he said, come down and look at it anyway. So I was fool enough to go down and look at it. And there was about 50 acres of maple bush, or perhaps more, on it. I said, that's a beautiful piece of bush. It's true. I've been living in the bush most of my life. Now I'm getting old, and it's perhaps about time I retired. So, that's nice. Well, he said, you better let me go and buy it. So, I put a maximum of that he had $15,000 that he was to pay for it, and he went and bought it. And he came to me. Now he said, I bought it for $13,000, and you'll owe me $2,000, and you'll pay for you'll pay the $13,000 and owe me $2,000. Well, that's the way the thing stood. I bought it. I went to out the experimental farm. Cleaver, was it? What's his name? Nealon? Nealon. No. And I asked him if he had anybody that would tell me what to do with the farm I'd bought. He went and he sent down his assistant, and he said he made a report on it, which I've got yet, a very nice report saying that it was an ideal place for a cattle farm, and it shouldn't be used for anything else. Beautiful dairy farm. So, because in the valley, and he said there's not a lovely pasture and everything there. And well, I said, I don't want to study cows at my time of life. I don't know anything about them, and I'm not going to learn now. I went to I think it was Roadhouse was deputy minister of agriculture at the time. I went up to Roadhouse and I said, I bought a farm. I want to know what to do with it. It's a sort of a pity to let it just lie idle all the time. It's been idle for 10 years. Well, he said, I'll send Stevenson out to look at it. Stevenson came out with me, I think he's at the experimental farm yet, in charge of cattle. And he said he came out and spent a day there, and he said, I think you would grow a nice orchard on this farm. I said, isn't it too far from the lake? No, he said, I don't think so. Well, my father had run for member of parliament for East York years before, and I knew a little about it. I'd heard a little about it and the people living in it, and I was tramping on something, and so I said, well, now that sounds interesting to me, so I'll just start and plant an orchard there. And I started planting. I planted, put in a few hundred trees, and then I put them in by the 1,000. And but I didn't know one tree from another at that time, and I got pretty badly stuck on them. But after a while, the game seemed to be interesting. I went down to the United States, and I saw Dr. Hedricks, the head of the experimental farm in New York, the best horticulturalist in America. And I said, Doctor, who grows the best Macintosh in America? Oh, he said, there's no question about that. There's an old Quaker up in New York here that grows the finest Macintosh in America, the finest color and finest flavor. Well, all right, I said, thank you. I'll go and see this old Quaker. Rogers is his name. So I drove down to see Rogers, and he says, is he a nurseryman? And I said, no, I'm not a nurseryman. I'm just a man who wants to grow the best apples that can be grown up in Canada. Dr. Hedricks says, I said, you know Dr. Hedricks? Oh, yes, you do. Well, I said, Dr. Hedricks says that you grow the best Macintosh in America. And he said, that's quite right. I'd quite agree with him. And, well, I want to get some of those Macintosh of yours. I want to get some trees that I can graft onto my trees. Oh, well, I couldn't let you have them. I'll sell you apples, but I won't let you grow trees. And, however, I stayed with them all day. And by the end of the day, I had a bunch of twigs this size that I brought home and grafted onto my trees. And those trees are growing apples now. And so that there's been a certain amount of pleasure in hunting around and seeing if I couldn't grow the best apples that could be grown up in the north. Then, when I got sick in 1928, I laid up in the house here for 6 months with angina. I gave that to that orchard of 350 acres to my son George. And then after I got around again, my wife said, I wish we had a house down near George's. Couldn't we get another farm next right close to him? So there was an old fellow came to me, and he said, I want to sell you my farm. It's right next to yours. I said, well, I don't want to buy it. I got more land than I know what to do it now. Well, he said, I've got to sell it anyway. I got to raise some money. He bought it for $10,000. He hadn't paid any cash on it, but he'd bought it from a man by the name of Brooks who wanted to get rid of it. So he said, I want to sell you. I'll sell you this land for $30,000. I said, I tell you what I'll do. I'll give you $10,000 for it. I never was on it. I don't know anything about it. But it's got nice, I understand it's got a nice house. It's a 2-story house, cement block, made of cement blocks with and so we finally wound up by buying that farm, 100 acres, that was all. And then another fellow came to me the next farm, and he said, I want to sell you my farm. And I said, well, I don't want any more farms. Well, he said, I'll sell you this farm for 150 acres it was, and all cultivated and everything. He said, I'll sell it to you for $10,000. I said, go away and drown yourself. And he said, well, what did he give me for it? I said, well, I'll give you $5,000. Never saw it, but I'll give you $5,000. So, all right, I'll take it, he said. So I bought the 3 farms. I've given the 2 of them to George, my son, and I've kept the 100-acre farm with the house. So there's the farm.
Well, thank you, Dr. Tyrrell. We won't have time to talk about all your 7 medals and your honor degrees from Toronto and Queen's University, medals from England and from the United States and from Canada. I really want to thank you for your patience under our fire and your helpfulness. And one day I hope to let our members living now hear what our 96-year-old member has had to say. And I know many people yet unborn will find your story interesting. Again, I thank you and wish you the very best.